Welcome back to the Postpartum Plan podcast. This podcast is designed to support and empower you through postpartum. Whether you're expecting, in the early postpartum days, or beyond, this space is for you. I'm your host, Madison Fugere, a dedicated postpartum doula and pediatric sleep consultant, striving to help parents feel confident and supported in their parenting journey. Each week, I'm sharing practical tips and expert advice to help you navigate all the postpartum things with confidence. Well, as much confidence as you can. Let's embark on this journey together, making your parenthood as serene and supportive as possible. Danette, owner of A Mother is Born, is an intuitive and holistic birth doula. She's also an energy worker, EFT tapping practitioner, and a body ready method pro. Danette specializes in physiological birth and working with midwives. Her mission is to transform the story of birth. She helps parents empower themselves through mind, body, and spirit preparation to take back the birthing process, navigate postpartum, and promote overall perinatal healing and wellness. Danette is a guide through the entire journey from preconception, pregnancy, birth, and beyond. I am so excited to have Danette finally on the podcast. I feel like since I started, like we were just saying, when we met up, whatever it was, a year or more ago, we were talking about the podcast and I was like, oh my gosh, you should go on. And we finally made it work. Yay.
Yes, I met you before you even birthed it.
I know, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. I'm so glad to have you here today. And to, kind of like dive into all the things in your realm and have like listeners learn about it. But yeah, do you want to start a little bit by telling people about yourself? Your bio will play before this, but like just to let them know a little bit about you and how you got into the work that you do.
Sure. So I'm kind of a lot of things at this point. I've just been going with the flow and like letting myself like grow organically and finding the different things that I really am passionate about. And so I am an intuitive and holistic birth doula, and I have been a birth doula for 2.5 years now. My previous life on this world, I was an engineer and spent a lot of my life in my masculine and, living in that concrete world. And I had I don't want to call it a midlife crisis. It was a spiritual awakening, right? It was was doing a lot of soul searching after I had my second daughter, and I had her right before COVID had shut the world down. And so I was doing a lot of self-reflection. I was out of work, I was home with the kids for 1.5 years. And I just kept thinking, I went back to work finally, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is not filling my soul's purpose. And I knew that there was something else for me. And I kept diving into it and doing my own healing work and evolving. And eventually I was like, I think I want to do birth work. I knew it. If I'm honest, I knew it a long time ago. I knew it after I had my first daughter. And it's interesting. I have a reading, like an astrology reading that I did right after my first daughter. And she told me when she was reading my chart, she was like, you have a chart of a midwife. And she told me that one day that I would be bringing women together in community. And at this point, 8 years ago or 7 years ago, I was completely engrossed in, a masculine field.
Right.
So I was like, women. I had all these women wounds and mother wounds and sister wounds. And I was like, I don't know about that. And, and she was like, yeah. And so it's interesting. Like, I'm not a midwife and I don't think that I'm going to become a midwife, but birth work and supporting women and families through this whole transformation and rite of passage is where I want to be and where my heart is. So I got a hold of my doula, and she's been guiding me since, and I don't ever do anything half.
I love it.
So I was like, balls to the wall after that.
Yeah. Now, and you had a doula for your birth, right? So you kind of like knew about this world. So like, yeah, right after that first, you were like, wow, that was really cool probably. But you're like, all right, back to engineering. But now, yeah, you get to kind of like really enjoy that and get to, yeah, like you said, dive right in, right?
Yeah, so I had a doula for both of my births. I had midwives for both of my births. One of my births was even out of hospital in a birth center, and I got my redemption water birth that I
Yay.
wanted so desperately. Um, but yeah, the whole process, like it transformed me at my core. And so when I kept thinking like, how am I supposed to serve in this world? I kept coming back to birth, and I was like, well, I want to help women have this same experience.
Yeah.
And so that's where, yeah, that's where I'm at. And I think right now it's like I'm combining everything I've ever done. So I've been on this like self transformation journey for myself for maybe like over 15 plus 17 years now. I've been like doing different spiritual work or soul work or healing and all of this stuff. And so I'm taking all of this experience, and now I'm taking my birth experience, and even my engineering comes in because I'm one hell of a troubleshooter. So like when we get to birth and there's something going on, I I bust out, all of my troubleshooting skills,
I love
and it
it.
just kind of combines all into who I am now and what
That's
I'm
amazing.
doing.
And that seems like that's really what everyone wants in life, right? Like to combine everything that they've ever like done and enjoyed and just do it all together. That's amazing. I love it. And some of the stuff that I know that you got into that now kind of like you preach and you're able to do with clients is tapping and Reiki and all that fun stuff as well. And so I'm excited to kind of like dive into that with you today and like to share with listeners what this is, how they can use it, how it helps them to prepare. Originally I was saying, right, birth and postpartum, but you've even mentioned that you've done a lot with people preconception and during pregnancy and all of that as well. So, yeah, do you want to tell everybody a little bit? I know it's like obviously two different things, right? We're not going to fully group them, but do you want to tell everybody a little bit about like what tapping is and what Reiki is?
Yeah, so it's a little bit, so taking like one step back, like how did I get into, or how do we, where did it come from that I want
Yeah,
to use tapping and Reiki in birth work, or birth preparation and then postpartum? And it really comes down to, preparing ourselves mentally and spiritually for birth. I do think physical preparation is important. Side note, right? I do have the skills and, can do all of those things and have those tools, but we can do all the body preparation that we want. But if our mindset is not in the right place or ready to have this experience, um, then it can definitely show up in our birth, right? So if I'm carrying in either my own birth trauma from when I was born, my mother's birth trauma, my sisters, my friends, like all the birth stories that we hear, even if you're a first time mom, you're
right.
carrying in baggage into your birth, and you're getting everybody's projecting all of these things onto you, all of these thoughts and belief systems, and whether or not we've had birth or not, we already have a preconceived notion of what it's going to be like. And so if we have you know a negative idea, or if we don't believe in our body and we don't trust our body that it can do this miraculous thing, and we think that we need all of these different tools or things to do it for us, then that's what's going to show up in birth. And so, and postpartum, right? I It's so interesting to me, the longer and longer I spend in this time. It doesn't matter if you come to me preconception, pregnant, in birth, like if I show up as a backup doula and I'm at your birth, or if it's postpartum, it's the same lesson that I
Right.
feel like we're trying to learn is letting go of control, trusting ourselves, trusting our own intuition. Like these are big themes that
Yeah.
if we don't if we don't learn it in preconception, it's going to come back up in pregnancy. And if we don't learn how to let go of control in pregnancy, it's going to come back up in birth. And if we don't trust our bodies and ourselves in birth, it's going to come back up. I mean, and I'm not saying like we heal one thing and then it never shows up again. I don't believe that. I believe like it's kind of like an onion, right? And we're peeling layers off of
Yeah.
ourselves or off of our trauma or off of our souls. Like we're getting down closer and closer to the root every time. But I think we do a layer, and then it's going to shift and come up in our life in a different way. And then it's kind of like a test, so to speak,
Yeah.
or it's just like giving us another aspect and another way to approach it. And so then we do it from that layer. So layers and layers. So
I love that.
the sooner we can get to a place where we can trust our bodies, trust ourselves, trust our intuition, let go of control, the sooner we can start practicing these, regulating our nervous system, balancing our energy, the sooner we can learn these tools, I think, in whatever you are in your journey, then we can carry them through, and that then they become just that, like tools to use in
Absolutely.
parenting. Because once we have a baby, then we're always parents
Absolutely.
and we always need these
Right.
skills.
Right, right. Which is why, yeah, having all these tools is so important. And like knowing that there are more tools out there, like, is all the better, right? Like people listening, no matter where they are in their, path of pregnancy, postpartum, whatever. Um, yeah, who doesn't want to add more tools to their like toolbox of being able to make their lives and their families' lives better, right?
Yeah.
And being able to like mentally be more present or mentally be more yourself, whatever it may be. So yeah, adding more tools is always a good thing.
Yeah. So how these two tools ended up in my toolbox that I'm using with my clients at this point, it's always like I would never tell my clients or tell anybody to do anything or suggest anything that I haven't already tried for myself and that has worked for me.
Hmm.
So I mentioned that I've been on this journey for a long time now. I came into two different modalities that we're using, and we can kind of dive
Great.
into each of them at this point. I'll talk about the tapping first. So emotional freedom technique, EFT, it's also known on, and everywhere else as tapping, um, is a modality that we can use to downregulate our nervous system. And we're working with energetic meridians in our body. Specifically, they're right around usually like our face, our chest, our head. It's a specific set of points that we use. Same points that you might use in like acupuncture or acupressure, where
Hmm.
energy flows through. It runs right, we're working right next to our vagus nerve. So all this science and research is now catching up with the tools and the modalities,
Yeah.
right? And proving that, okay, these things really do work. Um, I do think there is a layer of needing to be open and
Right.
willing to receive in order to get any benefit from any energy modality or any modality in general, right? You could go, it's mind over matter. You can go to a doctor. This is the placebo effect, right? Like you can go in,
Absolutely.
they've given people like fake surgeries and they come out and they're healed, right? That is their mind over over body, mind over matter. So the same thing works with all of these metaphysical, energetic modalities is we have to be open and willing to receive in order for any of it to work anyway.
Yeah.
Um, so with the tapping, I found tapping for myself over a year, coming up on a year and a half ago now. I met an amazing woman who's now my mentor and my teacher and my guide in the tapping world. And we started working together because I was going through another layer of stuff. And whenever I'm going through something else, I am asking the universe, okay, show me what I need. Give me who's supposed to come into my life. And here she came. So we started working together with this modality, and it's twofold. It's a tool that you can use acutely in the moment to
Hmm.
reduce stress and anxiety, or if you're having like ruminating thoughts, if you're feeling your body and feeling like, okay, I'm at like a 10, a 8, a 9 right now on the scale, and I need to bring
Hmm.
myself down. Like if I'm dealing with my kids and I'm about to
Yep.
lose my ish, like I can go in the bathroom and like reset myself so I can use it in the moment. And that's why it originally came around to me. I was struggling with um, just another wave of being struggling in parenthood with different things that
Yeah.
were popping up. And so I began using it acutely, but then I started learning like this tool is so powerful. We can even go back and heal childhood trauma with it. We can go back and we can heal generational trauma with it. We can heal past life trauma if this is what you believe in, right? So we can, it's such a powerful tool. And what we're doing is we're down regulating the nervous system, and we're telling it that we're safe, right? We're helping it to reprogram and make new neural pathways and connections as we're processing the trauma. So the trauma might be coming up, or the fear might be coming up, that sensation in our body is coming up. We're tapping as we're talking about it and as we're going through it. So at the same time that we're experiencing the feeling and the thought, we're reprogramming our nervous system to know that it's safe. So then the next time this trigger, we'll call it, comes up, or thought comes up, we're more easily able to regulate ourselves and kind of take the power away from that
Absolutely.
specific thing.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
it started changing my life. And the more and more I used it, the more and more, of course, it like started seeping in a little bit into my doula practice and with my
Yep.
clients, because I'm like, this is an amazing tool. I need to share it. So then I did like a very intense training. My friend and I worked together for 5 months, as well as my own journey, because you can't just learn a modality and then teach people how to do it. You have to
Right.
also be embodying it. And you have to also be doing your own work in order to be serving clients. I think this is really important for everyone, especially
Yeah.
birth workers, to understand.
Absolutely. Talk
I'm
about
sure you do.
carrying past people into the birth room with you or into postpartum rooms with you, right? Like as birth workers, we are truly carrying all of our clients with us no matter where we go. So yeah, I love that.
Right. And if you're not doing your own work and you're not taking care of yourself and feeling centered in yourself, then we can't show up in our best for our best for our clients.
Absolutely. I love that
So
you're able to kind of like share the tapping and like kind of what it does too, because I have a client or had a client who was a therapist, or she is a therapist, I guess technically. She's still on maternity leave. But she works with a lot of people that have PTSD and was talking about how she does lots of different types of therapy. And we actually started talking about tapping, and I was like, hey, I know somebody who does that. Like she was telling me about it. And she was telling me that for a lot of her clients who aren't like more of the holistic brained people that are having a hard time like believing in the energies and things like that, this is a really good gateway for them because there is a lot
yes,
of like scientific backed information to it. You aren't just like touching your body and tapping your body in random places. There is like a methodology behind it, and it does help to regulate, right? It's just like how taking a deep breath helps you sometimes, right? It's like helping you focus on one thing. There's purpose behind placement. And I think she was saying like it's really helpful because it helps people realize they can be like, oh yeah, it's science backed. And then it starts to work and they're like, oh yeah, but it's also, energy backed, right? And then they kind of are more open to these other options and opportunities of like we said, tools to add to their toolbox, which is super cool. When you kind of told me about it and then she was telling me more about it, I was like, I think this is such a cool thing because yeah, like it's a good like gateway, right? Like getting you
it is.
into
Like, gateway was the word that was coming to me. It's so accessible, right?
Yeah.
You literally have the tool right here, your hand, right?
Yep.
You have your fingertips at any point in time. And there's even like a little shortcut we can do with just our fingertips. So if we're in like a public place and we won't want to be like, say we're self-conscious about it, then we can,
Yeah.
tap here. But in the other great part about it is, so like as a doula in general, like I'm all about helping you empower yourself. So you don't need to come to me all the time for these sessions and to get this benefit. I get to teach it to you,
Yeah.
right? You can learn it yourself and then you can use it yourself.
Right.
Yes, you might need a guide or, a session to go like deeper and like work through something very specific,
Yeah.
but to use it acutely in the moment and to have it start really positively affecting your life, you just need 2 minutes in your hand and the little chart,
Yeah.
right? And so I introduce it to all my clients. Some of them go deep with it, some of them don't. But the ones that have tend to then carry it into postpartum. And it's
Yeah.
just such a great tool. Like my mentor, the reason that she got into it is because she was struggling postpartum and she was trying to find something to get her through.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when she found tapping and helped her come out of her, you know, black hole as well,
Yeah.
and it helped me come out of my black hole. And I think that it's so accessible and we can use it ourselves. And then same thing, like when we fast forward and start talking about Reiki too, like that's also a tool that we can all learn ourselves. But this one specifically, like, I'm so glad you mentioned that, people who are more, they need proof, they need the
Yeah.
evidence, they need the science backed, information to do something. I find that all my clients, anybody can buy into this concept and can
Right.
see, okay, there is actual data where
Absolutely.
it's like the gateway, right? It can
Yeah.
crack you open. And then the more you do it. So the other benefit of tapping is like, it helps to like widen our tolerance window, so to speak. So everyone has like a window of tolerance that they operate in every day, right? Like we might get anxious or something might bother us and we might kind of start to go to the top of our tolerance window and then we can kind of settle ourselves back down. So we have this window. Well, based on how much trauma or different things that have happened in your life, it kind of dictates what our trauma window or what our window of
Right.
tolerance looks like. So what tapping can do is, if you could practice it like a little bit every day, 2 or 3 minutes, we do a couple of rounds, even when we're not feeling that acute anxiety,
Yeah.
it will help to widen our tolerance window. So then over time, we now can be higher and we can now bring ourselves back down a lot
Mm-hmm.
easier and remember, okay, I just need to come back home. It's all about coming back home into our body, getting out of our head and getting out of that projecting world and that ruminating thoughts and like what's going to happen in the future or in the past. And it really brings us back down into the moment and back down into our bodies, because this is what we have, this present moment. Every time, every moment to moment, this is all we have. So we stay here, we try to keep staying here, and then that's how we use it in birth as
Right.
well. So I give this tool to my clients. If they can practice prenatally or preconception, wonderful. That way, then we can use it in birth. And
Yeah.
so I've multiple occasions tapped on my clients. So if in birth they can't do the tapping, because you can imagine like in birth, maybe that's not, a thing,
Yeah.
then I can do the tapping, or the partner. I can teach the partner to do the tapping and they can tap on the mom. And we can even then transfer that to our baby, right? So our mothers who are nursing or feeding can be tapping on their babies while the baby's eating, and then the partner can be tapping on the mom while she's feeding, and then we have this like beautiful like circle where everybody's nervous system is getting regulated. It just creates this beautiful environment. And
I love
so
it.
we can use it in all of these ways. I've definitely used it in birth. It's helped many, many clients. And if we don't even, it's not even, it's just basically it looks like this, right? And if in birth, if we can't do the tapping, we can just press and hold, right? So there's different modifications, just like there is with exercise, different
Yeah.
levels. Um, so yeah, and then
I
postpartum,
love it.
it's just an amazing tool for parenting. I found this
Yeah.
tool in postpartum and it's saved me.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. I do. I think that that's so cool that, yeah, it's something that is backed by, so many different things. And it's able to be a tool, like we were talking about, that, so many people can find some success in. And like you said, right? Like the more your mind's open to things, the more they're going to work, right? And I think that, with time too, people probably start to like be like, oh yeah, this is working. And then, oh yeah, this is really working, right? And I love that it can be used, throughout the whole process, not just in one specific element or period of time, right? So that's so cool. Um, yeah. Is there anything else that people should know specifically about tapping before we kind of like switch over to like the next tool, which is Reiki?
Mm.
or anywhere. So I guess I could say like if somebody's like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of interested. Obviously, your information will be below, but
Mhm.
like if they wanted to do like a quick like YouTube search or Google search or something to like see what this looks like or what this is there anybody specific or anywhere specific that you suggest they look?
Well, I can definitely get you a link that maybe you
Okay,
could put in the
cool.
show notes or
Yeah, we'll
something
put a
like
link in the
this,
show note.
so
Yeah.
that if people are interested, they can also reach out to me and I can send them just a little intro video.
Yeah.
So we could even make that as like a little maybe freebie or something like this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you can, but I'm sure I can find a link and I can get a link that is just more descriptive. I think that there's a couple, just like anything, there's like a mainstream, you know what I mean, tapping
Right.
community. And then there's like a community of tapping where it's just a little bit, it's kind of like, so there's trainings, right? You can get tapping certified in a weekend, or you can take very in-depth year-long, six
Right.
month long training, right? So there's going to be varying levels of, you know,
Yeah. Intensity in a video,
tapping
I'm sure. Yeah,
intensity,
yeah, yeah.
tapping advice. But the
Yep.
basics are very straightforward. Anybody can learn them. You don't even have to talk. We just tap, we learn the points, you tap on the points, and you do it for 2 minutes a day.
I love it.
So
I love it. Yes, we'll add videos and links and all that jazz below, so people definitely should check that out.
yes,
Um, yeah, so let's do it. Let's talk about Reiki then too. Let's move on to this other tool that like is
wonderful.
available and share your exciting news.
Yes. So Reiki came into my life, and Reiki is, I think, it's the mainstream word for energy work. It is a
Mhm.
specific type of energy work and modality where you're channeling what we call like source energy, right? The
Mhm.
idea is that everything is made up of energy. Science proves this,
Yeah.
right? Everything is vibrating. Even a rock is vibrating at a certain frequency. Everything is made up of energy. And we can have an influence on that energy, right? There's studies that have shown, like, you know, people who do Reiki on their plants or do energy work on their plants grow better. And they, you know, or if you yell at something and you're mean to something that is inanimate, or like something like that that's living, like a plant, you can kill it. And so these things are just, yeah, they blow my mind
It's
sometimes.
so crazy. Like it's one
Um,
of those things, yeah, you get sucked into the black hole. Like,
yeah.
whoa.
So it's a real thing, right? And you
It's
can
so
think
cool.
about it, like you've walked into a room before where you've just felt like negative energy.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to be here. This is
Hmm.
too much. Like, you can feel, and vice versa, right? You can go somewhere and be around something where it's like lifts you up and it makes you feel lighter. Like, there is always energy exchange happening. And we always have energy flowing through our life being, our, you know, our body. And when we have pain or discomfort, or we have you know, anything bodily coming up, really what it comes down to is that our energy is not flowing. It's not flowing properly in the proper channels. There's like blockages that start to
Hmm.
happen, or, you know, the energy's taken the long way around, kind of, so to speak, in shorthand. So what we're doing with energy work and with Reiki specifically is we are balancing the body. This is the same, but balancing the energetic body. And this is the same thing that you're doing when you go to acupuncture or you're
Hmm.
doing acupressure. Um, they're working with different specific points on these energetic meridians that run through our body to basically clear the blockages and help the energy flow. Because when energy is flowing, our body is in harmony and it's self-healing, and, you know, we're moving and grooving. So with the energy work, it was something that, so I told you I've been like on this spiritual path for about 15, 20 years now. And as I'm on my path, I've started experiencing these different energy healers or different energy work for myself. Like, I've been
Hmm.
receiving it from different practitioners. And I feel that it was helpful for me. And so
Hmm.
then I learned that I was able to do, and I should caveat this by, everybody can do energy work. Everybody can move energy and transmit and like be a channel for energy work. It's just how open are you to receiving? It
Right.
all comes down to openness. Because if we ask for it, like Reiki is all about intention. I could be, I don't know, I could be waving these paper clips around, right? And like if I'm putting intention that I'm sending energy and that the intention is that these things are going to heal and going to, give you what your body needs. That's all the universe needs is that intention, to hear that intention, and then it can deliver. So this is getting a little bit kind of into the metaphysical world. And this is where like I might lose some people or people might be like, okay, I'm on board. Give me more. But with the energy work, so I learned that I was able to shift energy and move energy with my hands. A couple of years ago, I joined my grandfather when he was passing, and I went to visit him. He was in St. Louis, and I got there just in time to spend like the last night of his life with him. And I got this really beautiful gift where it was really just me and him and my mom, who like fell asleep on the couch at that one point. She had been doing so much, but her and I were there the whole last night, and I sat there and I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, but I was channeling and I was asking for my grandfather to be more at ease and to be, just to help him cross over and help him to let go. And I swear my hands were like on fire, and I was watching him, and the more energy work I did, or the more intention that I was putting into what I was doing, the more peaceful he was breathing, and the more at ease that he seemed. So this was my first experience with doing energy work, and I was like, wow, that I left there, it was like one of the most powerful experiences of my life. And so from there, I was like, okay. So then I started dabbling in trying, learning about it and just using it on myself, my children, um, and starting to use it on my clients. And I had gotten some feedback from clients. Like I had one client who we had, she was having a long unmedicated birth, and there was a really difficult like transition. There's always a transition, right? But there was in that transition moment, she was sitting like, I'm not to divulge too much information, I won't give her name, but she was like sitting on the toilet, and I was in there like comforting her, and she was leaning against me, and I was doing some energy work on her. And at the time, she didn't like know that, this is exactly what we were doing. We always talk about with my clients beforehand if they're open to it and if they want me to use it at my own discretion in birth. So we get full disclosure and permission in the beginning. But in that moment, I was doing some energy work on her. And after the birth, she was like, Danette, the most at peace and composed that I felt the whole birth was when we were sitting there on the toilet and my head was on your chest.
Oh.
And she's like, I don't know what was happening. And I was like, well, this is what I was
was
doing.
happening. Oh, that's so amazing. Well, I'm sure in those moments too, like you're not gonna be like, hey, this is what I'm doing right now. Because they're gonna be like, I don't care what the heck you're doing. I just want to not feel all of the things that I'm feeling right now.
Right.
Right.
So
Like,
we worry about, we talk all about it up front. And if
I
you're
love it.
open, then we go there. If you're not, then we don't. Um, so as the couple of years progressed, I was like, well, I want to dive more into this. What is this that I'm doing? And Reiki kept coming. The name Reiki the modality kept coming into my field. And I was like, okay, at first I resisted it because I was like, oh, it's just it's a mainstream name. Why do I need to do Reiki training? I'm already doing my own energy work. And then it came into my field so much, like it's one of those things like you just can't ignore. Like it just kept
You're like,
coming
all
and
right,
coming and
fine.
coming. And then I found this beautiful training called Reiki for birth workers.
Oh,
And so
wow.
it was very specifically geared towards learning how to use it, or what specific like protocols that you might be able to use, or ways to use it in birth preparation, in pregnancy, prenatal, and birth, and then beyond, and postpartum. So it was kind of like this beautiful marriage of everything all together. And so I just completed my training for that earlier in the summer. And so now I have a name for it. And now I'm offering like full Reiki sessions to my clients prenatally, and specifically like my package that I offer everybody comes with a healing session postpartum. We do a little bit
Nice.
of tapping intro and Reiki in prenatally, and then we do a full session postpartum. That's standard. And then we can always add. And also, like, I want to plug too, like, this isn't just for my clients. I am open to taking and working with anybody's clients
Right.
who want to receive this kind of work, pre and postnatally. So,
Absolutely. That's so amazing. I love it. I love that you've been able to like take things that work for you, share them with people, help that work for them because I think that people will take all they can get, especially like when we're talking about birth and postpartum, right? Like these are some intense times. Postpartum, yes, specifically the first 3 months are give or take, but like really just life as a parent, right? Like there's some stressful times, and I think having like tools like these available to help you navigate it and to help you like ground yourself and like you said, like come back to yourself, I think can be like so huge because, everyone talks about how time flies by once you have a newborn, right? But like then people are like, where'd the time go? Right? Because you just are so sleep deprived. And I find so many clients are like, I feel like I'm not like remembering all the things I want to remember or like being present because I'm so tired. So, like, these skills of being able to like come to yourself, enjoy it in the moment, and that as well is not only good for your body, but you're gonna remember all the things you want to like remember, hopefully, and be able to like be present for the things you want to be present for, which I think is, every parent's dream, right?
yes. And important to know too, like, we can't give to other people unless our cup is full first, right? So we can't pour from our cup if there's nothing in it.
Yeah,
And so this
absolutely.
goes back to just a way these two things are just tools to put in your toolbox to help with self-care and self-love,
Yes.
because we can't take care of our new tiny humans unless we're full, or unless we have
Absolutely.
a little bit left. Something in our cup, something's got to be in there in order for us to give. And I think both of these tools are beautiful ways, like, that we can, like I said, we can empower ourselves. I have a client right now whose baby, she's gone through a lot postpartum.
Mm.
She's just had a lot of physical things. The baby has had a lot of physical
Oh,
things. And what I learned, and she was at recently Boston Children's, and they have a Reiki program at Boston Children's Hospital. So this should also tell people, like, it's not so woo
yeah.
that we think, like, as we think. Some,
Right.
people may have not heard of it, but it's becoming more mainstream and people are
Hmm.
learning the actual benefits of it. So now there's a Reiki program at Boston Children's. So there was someone coming around and doing Reiki on the babies who are
No,
healing.
that's
And she
amazing.
was telling me, like, how responsive her baby was to the Reiki. And it moved her so much that Boston Children's also has a program where if you're a patient there or you're a parent of a patient,
Hmm.
they will Reiki train you. They will
Oh,
do a Reiki
wow.
1 certification with you, where you can then learn it as a tool to then perform
To
on your
help your
baby.
baby. Oh
So
my
you can do
gosh,
it
that
on your
melts my
baby.
heart.
You can do it on your baby for a lifetime. You can do it on yourself. You can do it on your partner. It's just a tool. It's just another reminder we all have this capacity.
Yes.
And it's just so beautiful. So now she did the training. There was one this last week and yesterday.
Oh
So
my
she did that training,
gosh.
and now she's going to be able to help her baby every day.
Wow, that makes my heart melt. It really is the openness. It's the openness. It's the being willing to like do it. Even if people are listening and they're like, I don't know if I believe this. Just like decide that you believe it, try to believe it, right? Like give it a shot. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you, right? But like,
Right.
there's no harm. It's not like you're gonna go like take some prescription and then there's gonna be some issue, right? Like it's just, a chunk of your time for a few times to see how you feel about it.
Yeah.
I think just like, yeah, being like, all right, cool, sure, maybe this works. Let's give it a shot. We're gonna make it work, right?
Yeah.
Like, why not?
And both of these modalities, energy working, it will do no harm.
Right.
It will never do any harm. Your body, specifically with the Reiki, like, it's only going to take the energy that it needs. So it's just like a baby in utero, right? The baby takes what the baby needs for nutrition and resources. our bodies energetically only take what it needs from the universe or from the energy, from whatever I'm offering. So I'm
Right.
just a channel. I'm allowing energy to flow through me to you, and
Mm-hmm.
your body is just it's going to know exactly what it needs to take, because our bodies are smart and they can heal themselves.
Love it.
And so it's just going to take what it needs and send that to the right area or rebalance energetically and get things moving again. And then we can, yeah.
I love it. I love it. So, like I said earlier, we'll make sure that everything's in the show notes below. All of Danette's information on tapping, on Reiki, all the things. But people should definitely, like I said, the your bio will play before this whole episode. But in the show notes below will also be that your amazing new collective in Tewksbury will be available. And so when that starts becoming available for support, people can come to you, which is super exciting. So if anybody's local to the Tewksbury, Massachusetts area, you can go and see Danette in person too, which is so amazing. And
Yes.
yeah, a lot of your offerings and everything and like that will also be below so people can check it out. But is there anything else that you wanted to share before we kind of close out today?
So I did just want to share a little bit about the collective that we just opened.
Yeah, do it.
So I wasn't expecting this to happen at this point, but I always have a dream. I had a dream of having my own like in-person location, and it being a like metaphysical, holistic, perinatal wellness place. So I partnered up with 3 other women. It's not technically just a perinatal facility, but each of the women that are in this collective, it's the Sacred Soul Collective, we are all metaphysical and spiritual and have a different modality to share. I am seeing in person my prenatal clients there, and I'm also then doing my tapping and Reiki sessions with anybody or my own clients at this facility. And then we also have a workshop space, so we're going to be running some really amazing workshops. All about just coming back home to yourself, right?
Yeah.
And like finding yourself and doing some good transformative work, soul work. So we're going to be doing all these kind of things there. So I'd love for people to come check us out. We're going to be in Tewksbury, right? It's right pretty centrally located. I think we're right like off 93 and Route 3.
Nice.
So we'll be open in another couple of weeks. We'll have a grand opening in September.
I love
So
it.
you can book now with me.
Yes.
And all the information's in the show notes. And yeah, I offer anybody who is preconception, looking to get pregnant, anybody who's looking for doula, like I do free hour consultation calls. So if you just want to talk about birth or what your options are, I offer that to all of my clients as well.
I
So
love it. I love it. She's got all the support, so definitely check it all out. Thank you for joining me. I'm so glad we finally got to make it all work.
yes, Madison, thank you so much for having me. I knew I'd be on here one day. She finally like messaged me and she's like, "Hey, I have some space." It's what I needed. I needed you to
Yes.
make the offering and give something for me to respond to.
Yay. I'm glad it all worked out. Thanks again for joining me.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Postpartum Plan podcast. I hope that today's episode brought you support, relatability, and valuable insight. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave a review and share with any of your prenatal and postpartum friends and family. Your feedback helps us reach more parents seeking support. And if you're looking for additional resources, please feel free to connect via Instagram at Serene Moments Doula for constant information, tips, and tricks, or check out my website, www.serenemomentsdoula.com. See you next week.